Hey, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Today, I have an amazing guest for you that I've been so excited to have on. I know you will love her and learn so much from her. Her name is Ashlee Boyson. Some of you may have heard of her from The Moments We Stand. I remember following her way back several years ago and watching her journey from a really, really difficult time to where she is now. And I want her to tell you all about herself. I know that you will learn so much. Hello, and welcome to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, where courageous women learn not only to heal from their spouse's betrayal, but to become the boldest, truest, most decisive, and confident versions of themselves ever. If you know there's more for you than the life you're currently living, but don't quite know how to get there, you are in the right place. Stick around to learn how to create a life that will knock your own socks off. Is it possible? It is, and I'm here to show you how. I'm your host, Andrea Giles. Are you ready? Let's dive in. I want to go ahead and get started. So Ashlee has quite a story. She has quite a story, and she has swam in some pretty deep waters. So I want you, first of all, Ashlee, to share with my audience what happened to you, like the thing that happened that kind of rocked your world and got you started on the path towards the moments we stand. Go ahead.
Well, okay. So in 2011, I gave birth to my fifth baby. I had twins that were in kindergarten, a 4-year-old, an almost 2-year-old, and then this brand new baby. And I started feeling like I was crazy, you know, that feeling. And I just kept racking my brain, searching high and low for an answer to what the heck was happening, because it felt so tangible, but I never had any evidence of it in my hands, but it was just something was different. My husband had just started work as an attorney and started his own practice. He was kind of doing a bunch of things. He just kind of had his hat in all sorts of whatever, hand is in a million places. But he started working with this woman, and that's kind of when everything started to feel uneasy, I guess. Anyways, long story short, on March 11th of 2011, I had spent the entire week kind of searching for those answers that I knew I would find if I looked hard enough, because I knew something was wrong. And that day I woke up determined, this is my day. We're going to figure it out. Whatever it is, we're going to work together and we're going to fix it. And that night he left in a bit of an angry state, and my baby started crying. And for hours I bounced this little baby, just praying so hard that I got my answer. And I even got to the point where I was like, I don't care if he wrecks his brand new truck. I need him to need me. I need him to see me. I need him to see all the blessings we have and remember this life that we've built, so I don't keep living it by myself. And at about midnight, I had fallen asleep and I got a pounding knock on my door. And I was almost excited. Okay, I've been praying this one answer. I'm going to go to the door. They're going to be like, this is what happened. Here he is. He needs you. And that was kind of the scenario that played in my mind as I walked to the door. And I opened it to these 3 strangers, just kind of not really looking me in the eyes. And they asked me to come in and sit down. And they sat on my black couch with my 5 babies sleeping in my house. And they gave me a million answers that night. My husband was having an affair with the paralegal that worked for his law office. And they'd been having an affair for some time. And her husband had found them at Walgreens, where they had met up, and headed out in Emmett's car, but pulled back up, and the husband was waiting there. And my husband had been shot 2 times, once in the forehead and once in the heart, and died in this other woman's arms. So all these answers of everything that was going wrong, which I knew something was bad. I had no idea to the extent of the answers I would receive that night, but it was one of those surreal moments that still, when I talk about it, even doesn't even feel real. It was just the fog and the darkness of anything in this world that possibly could be, felt like it was just caving in on me.
Oh my goodness. I already knew your story, from reading about you on your blog and Instagram and things like that, but hearing it from your own mouth is pretty woo. It's just hard to even wrap my head around how intense that must have been for you. How intense and how everything I'm sure felt completely turned on its head. My question for you, lots of questions for you, but one question for you is I hear often from my clients, and I also felt the same, that it was just so dark that it felt hard to even think about life being good again. Like how can it possibly be good again? That's one question for you. So tell me about your experience with that.
So I feel like my moment of finding out was so complex, but I feel like first I went to the wife who had felt like she's crazy and had this like wave of relief that I wasn't flipping nuts.
Yeah.
And that was my first reaction. And that made it even more complex that he was gone and he was like not coming back. And there was but the first moment when you find out that your husband's been having an affair and you have felt crazy, or he's told you that you're crazy for however long it's been going on, the emotion of relief is so intense because you legit start to think that you're the crazy one when you're constantly looking around and going, what am I missing? So that would be kind of the first thing that for a while, I wouldn't even admit that, because after that, it was like, but he's gone and I loved him and we had built this life together. But that original feeling that happened for me, and I've heard a lot of women with infidelity, when they find out, just that being okay that you were relieved, I guess.
Yeah.
Because afterward you start going, well, how am I relieved? Because this hurts. And now we're stuck with this mess and we have to decide all these things. But I think a good part of my healing was realizing that all of the emotions that I was feeling were perfectly normal and okay. Because a lot of times the darkness is the shame that we give ourselves on how we're feeling. Yeah. And the darkness is the shame of what we think other people are going to be saying about us or thinking about us, or what people at church are going to do, or like all the outside things that are coming in on you is what's really the darkness. It's not necessarily what happened to you, because it happens all the time and it really has nothing to do with you. But in that moment, you don't realize that it has nothing to do with you because you're so stuck on, well, what could I have done? Could I have lost the weight faster? You just start racking your brain on how, because women, that's what we do, right? We just fix crap.
Yep.
And that's where I got stuck a lot in my shame and worrying about what everybody else was going to think. The darkness wouldn't leave because I just held on to it like it was my lifeline, because it felt like that's all I had.
Oh, that's so good. I so appreciate your clarity around that, because something that I teach my clients is the difference between pain and suffering. And there's going to be pain, period, right? Around the loss of something that we thought that is not. Like the life that we thought was, the way we thought things were, that is now not. And there's going to be some feelings around that, particularly grief, some hurt, things like that. But I think, as to your point, where we bring in unnecessary suffering is where we start to wonder what people are thinking and what might they think of me and what do people think I should do and how could I be so blind and all of those questions, right? I also think, though, that you make a good point in the relief, like to know I wasn't crazy. Like I was tracking something. I didn't know what it was, but I was correct. And to be in that moment to go, I knew it. I was onto it. I just didn't know exactly what it was. Right. I think that's really important. Correct. I think that's important. So tell me what happened next. Like, I know there was a lawsuit, not a lawsuit, a trial. A trial. That's the word. Yeah. A trial. And lots of public things that happened. Tell us more about what was next for you.
Oh, for me, what was next is just constantly feeling ashamed. I spent a lot of time getting ready at unnecessary levels, being so afraid that if somebody saw me in public and I just looked like the hot mess that I felt like I was, that it would be like, oh, no wonder why you cheated on her. Like, look at her. And I remember having a hard time eating. Like I was just shaky all the time and I couldn't calm anything down. Everything was so keyed up it was like a constant state of fight or flight. My kids were scared about the man that killed them and if it was coming for me. And it was just chaos is what it would be a good word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say what was next for me was just years of chaos. I did get remarried and it was not a healthy marriage, and tried to find my worth in, I think for a long time, I found my worth in my spouse. It was like, I made food for you and I do this for the children because I love you. And to have that taken away, I think was really hard for me. And to let go of being the wife, which turned into me getting married probably very prematurely and finding someone who kind of duplicated the same scenario, but this time left me with this option that I thought was taken from me. And I thought I would always stay and fight. And I thought I would never, ever give up. And then God led me down a different path. And then I went through a divorce and got to know that I was worth more. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have to find my worth in a person because I already had it in myself.
You should say that again.
I found out that I was worth more because I didn't have to find my worth in another person. I could find it in myself.
Yep. So beautiful and so profound. Thank you. So do you think, as you look back, so that was 2011, as you look back, how did you, one of the things that I read online that you wrote is the question of why wasn't I enough? And I hear that all the time. And I felt that way too. Why was I not enough? It's a painful question, isn't it? Why?
Why? It is haunting.
Yes. So my question for you about that is, it's a question that you will never be able to ask. It's a question you will never get an answer to in this life. And it's not true. I know that it's not true, that you always were enough, right? But there are things there are discussions you will never be able to have. And Ashlee and I were chatting a little bit before about, we both have in common that both of our first spouses have passed away. So for me, it was, as a reminder to my listeners, we got divorced. And then 7 months later, he died in a car accident. And there are things that I will never be able to say or ask him as well, but it is a different circumstance. So for you, how did you move past that? Like not being able to go and say, hey, what happened? How did you move past that and let it and release it?
I had to change a lot of definitions, which took a lot of time, but the definition of forgiveness, where for me, it was always like, okay, you say you're sorry. I'm good. We move on. We're best friends. We hold hands on the playground. Like everything's fine. And learning it in a new way this time, I had 3 people who are never going to say they're sorry. And just constantly longing for that is where I got stuck in that question of why wasn't I enough? I wasn't even enough for the freaking gun. Like the man with the gun knew who I was. He had a letter to me on his seat. Why wasn't I enough for him? And then this other woman, she worked for us. She saw me. She met the baby. She brought me presents. All of the things that rack your brain on, like, why does nobody see me? Like, am I invisible? When you're driving in your car and everybody just keeps cutting you off, those kind of moments. I just had to learn to really disconnect myself from other people and connect myself more to something greater, something that actually can give me that core strength and the core truth of who I am. Because if we're looking for it in other people, like if we're just begging other people all the time to show us that we're enough, most of the time they're going to fail. Yep. Because even if they do it in their own way, we're not going to be able to accept it, because if our definition of love or being enough has this like certain box that we want them to check, it might not ever happen. So really, I think for me, it was just finding my own worth and knowing that God saw me the way that I was created, and knowing that I could love myself from the inside, not from the outside, and changing things and being what everybody else wanted me to be, but just truly figure out who I am. And one of the things that I feel like I was blessed with one day was I was kind of given just this glimpse of asking the right question, because those why questions, why am I not enough? Why does nobody see me? Why? It's almost like the trap of the fog, because we're constantly reaching out and going, come on guys, why can't you be this for me? But I started asking how am I enough? How am I going to be enough for myself? How am I going to be comfortable enough in my own skin to use this gift of love that I am really good at? And I did it like without any expectations. I really just love people. How can I use that gift again without worrying about how to trust? Because if we constantly wait and ask, why can't I trust? We're never going to.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So you've made that shift from kind of waiting to have an answer to taking action and moving forward from that place of how can I use what I already got, right? Like, this is who I am. I'm already loving and all of those things. And how can I use this to help others and to help yourself, right? Like is that what ultimately helped you really move forward?
Yes. And in a way that I didn't even realize, one day I felt inspired to start a blog, and I'm like, I'm never going to share this story. Like, this was the story we shove under the biggest rug we can find so we can move forward. But what I didn't know is just shoving it down, like shoving any emotion down doesn't actually help you get through it.
Yep.
Like, picture, like on Finding Nemo, I watch that a lot with my 2-year-old when he's like, no, we have to go around this dark valley. And Dory's like, but I really feel like we're supposed to swim through it. It's kind of how emotions are. Until you really swim through them, until you just face them and acknowledge them. That's something I didn't know that held me back for so long, until I acknowledge the story, until I embrace it and just say, this is our life. This is our story. And it's beautiful because all of the little glimmers of light that got us through to keep living felt impossible, but here we are.
Yeah. Yes. So do you feel like starting your blog helped you kind of create a space for you to really look at it and really like, this is what happened. This is what happened. And putting it down on paper, and tell me about that.
Yeah. Starting my blog, when I felt like God was like, this is what you're doing. It's not really an option. So at first I was like, oh, you want to know the story? You want me to write it out? Okay. And it was just kind of, I thought it was going to be kind of this just ranting about these 3 people who had collided and exploded and ruined our life. And I started writing, and I was going and going and going. And at that time, I didn't even think to do it in a Word doc. I just was writing straight onto the blog. And my computer was like, after a couple hours of just writing, totally died. And they're supposed to autosave, right? So I get back on, log in, and it is gone. Not one word is there. And I seriously can almost hear Heavenly Father laughing. And he was like, do you want to try that again? This time I want you to look at it and remember the light. Like, this story was so hard. The story that every one of your listeners have lived is so hard. But the grace wasn't that you lived the perfect story that you thought you were going to live ever since you were 16. You had it all planned out. That's not what grace was for you. Today, I want you to look at grace and go, what happened to get me through this? What light happened each time you thought that you were so stuck in the dark that you were never going to see the light again? Remember that. Oh. And then I was like, okay. And that's where the healing came.
Wow.
Is God saying, yes, we could sit in this dark story for the rest of your life. Go for it. You know what? If that's what you want to do, but you're not getting anywhere. So let's try it again. Let's start over. Let's clean it all out. Get it out. It's real. Those emotions are real. The pain was real. But let's try it again from a different angle. And that was the gift that was given. And I had no idea anyone was ever going to read it. I thought my mom and my sisters would pity read it for me. But when it became something bigger, and he just kept saying, just keep going. And I was like, all right, well, I don't want to at all. I don't want to stand on stages. I don't want to write about the pain and the vulnerability of my life. But I don't know, sometimes when God asks you to do stuff, even though he's crazy, you just listen.
I love it. Yes. And you have blessed the lives of so many people. And also, as you're saying, you have found that to be an instrument of your own healing, right? To do that work. So I have a question for you. Something I hear a lot from people, and I remember very clearly feeling this way, is this question: what was real? What was even real?
Mm-hmm.
and, looking at the different things where you thought you were good, right? Where you thought that you were happy and memories and nice things they did and things like that. Did you experience that?
So much, so much. I think that was one of the darkest parts for me. If I didn't know about this, what else was going on? When he was at law school and I was just sitting at home raising these babies by myself for the most part, so he could be where he needed to be, what else was happening? It was one of those webs that I would get in sometimes at night and just try to search for the answers to. Did he even ever love me, or was this just all a fake? Was this whole life a fake? And then I would look at his children in the eyes and see how amazing they were and their goodness. And I got to the point where I was like, it really doesn't matter, because whatever we had, I loved him. I adored him, and I was going to be there through the thick and thin. And these children are evidence of something great.
Yeah.
And even if that was just little glimmers of greatness, he gave me the best gift, and I got to keep the best parts of him.
Yeah. Yep. I love that. Thank you. So what I wanted to ask you is about closure. So we hear closure talked about, like, I just need closure. I just need to talk to them to make sure that, whatever, say what I want to say, things like that. It's something that you did not get. So how did you give yourself closure?
Oh, that's a great question. I remember that feeling like, well, how come everybody else gets to like slap him across the face, kick him somewhere, like all the things that you want to do when you find out about the affair part. And I felt kind of ripped off for a long time. I need to hear it from him. Like, I didn't love you, like why he was choosing all these things. And it really just became kind of something that it took time to just let go of that need for him to come and fix it. Again, one of those times where you're reaching out and needing someone else to give you all the reasons why you're going to be okay, or tell you all the things that you should have changed so you can do it different. And different things happened. Like, I had a dream one time that he came to me and had written me all these letters. It was like mountains of letters. And in my dream, he just like was right there. And he's like, they're all from me. It's everything I wish I would have done, everything I should have said. And I spent the whole night reading these letters.
Wow.
So I've been given little gifts like that were really powerful for me. It was different than what I expected it would be in that kind of a situation. But
wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Okay. So you did make a choice though. You made a choice to give yourself closure rather than waiting for something outside of you to happen. Like, you decided what you were going to make it mean. You decided that it was enough and that you were going to move forward.
Yeah.
Right.
I always told my kids when things would come up, and that one time my son was like, well, my dad just died. He was freaking out on everybody, kicking people. And I was like, okay, I'm making this decision right now. This is not going to be the excuse of why we're just going to let our lives be ruined. It's not going to be the excuse for why we're going to be unkind or disrespectful or change anything that we've ever done. We're going to use this to be better. And I tried to lead by example. I mean, some days you get in that victimhood and you're like, this is not fair.
Yeah.
Days like birthdays and Christmas and things that come up that life is not fair. So sometimes, of course, your human nature, but for the most part, I decided really close to the beginning of the journey that this was not going to be our excuse for why we didn't succeed and become even better than we were.
I love it. That's so powerful. How old were your kids? Did you say how old was the oldest at the time?
The oldest were about to turn 6 a month later.
Okay. All right.
The
so
twins.
Now you have a whole bunch of teenagers at your house.
I do. They're about to turn 17 and then 15, 13, 11. And then I have a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Okay. Wow. I love it. That's awesome. Okay. So I want to know, like, what have you learned about yourself in this process? And I want to know, what have you learned about yourself that maybe you would not have learned otherwise?
Oh, one thing I've learned about myself is, let's see, I've tried to turn anxiety of the fear of what could happen in life into an appreciation of making each day count and making each moment with my kids count. And instead of having it be just, they could die tonight, have it be, I just want to love them right here where they are. I want to know them. I want them to know me. So I've learned that that's kind of one of my gifts, to turn the hard into positive. I've learned a lot about my spiritual gifts that I would have never known, the ways I connect to Heavenly Father and the ways that I find strength. What else have I learned? I've learned that I want to be obedient. I want to do the right thing, even when the right thing hasn't been done. And I've learned that I want to share a message of hope. I used to think I kind of started all this so I could just save one woman from that night where her husband was shot, where I could just save like one family from feeling the pain that we had lived for so long. But then I realized like there's so much more to life than just avoiding the bad stuff, avoiding bad choices, and not taking a gun when you should use your words and all those things. There, like, we're here to find our purpose. We're here to find out who we really are and what strengths we have to offer and make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. I say often on my podcast that infidelity can be a crisis turning point that becomes a springboard to a you that you can't even imagine, like showing you what you're made of. And I certainly see that you have taken your challenges and used them as a springboard, and helping so many people do the same. So
thank you.
You're welcome. So we touched on this a little bit, but I want you to go into a little more detail about how you learned to value yourself. Like what was that process like for you? How did you do it? How did you learn to value yourself after feeling so devalued, like you just weren't enough? How did you learn to do that? What steps did you take?
I told you I had a lot of dreams, but one dream in particular, it was kind of this little gift of watching my life. I was like walking on this beach and I was watching my life on this movie screen, and it just kept going through every scene. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is awful. This is like the worst movie. Even if it was a Dateline or something, it was worse. And I just watched it and it got to the end and my life was over. And I was like, okay, that sucked. That was the worst. And I literally, like, in that moment, just like the dream with Emmett, the Savior was standing right next to me. And he was like, I want you to look up there again. And this time I want you to watch for the light. I want you to watch for your angels. And I want you to see the times where you needed strength. And so I watched it all again. And in the moments where that girl up on the screen was on the floor bawling her face off, he would hand me this megaphone and he said, tell her truth that she's forgetting. And I like screamed to myself, remember, you're enough. Like all the things that she was wallowing in and the darkness that was all around her. I was watching her, instead of fade away, he was like, give her light. She needs light. She needs truth. And so after that dream, I realized we have the strength to change the story. We don't have the strength to change the surroundings or what we've been through, but we have a choice. We get to live and wallow in it, or we just get to move forward and keep looking for the light. And at the end of it, that time, I was like, that was the best. It was the same story. Nothing changed in the story except knowing that I wasn't alone and knowing that I was enough and telling myself all of those things. And so a lot of times I'll stop, like, okay, what am I really frustrated about? What am I really scared about? A lot of times it's a fear or some irrational thought or a panic from the past, a trigger. But it's like getting down to the real emotion, getting out the emotion, and then filling it with truth. Who are you really, girl? You're an amazing, powerful, strong woman who's gotten through a lot, and you're going to get through this.
Oh, that's so amazing. And I love thinking of you holding that megaphone, like shouting at yourself, okay, you can do it. But I also see you doing that for thousands of women. Like you are over there holding that megaphone for them and reminding them who they are and to get back up, right? Keep going, keep going, get back up. That's so powerful. One question I have is, like, shortly after you found everything out, something I see a lot is, first of all, trust is broken between husband and wife in infidelity, right? But for so many of us, there's a broken trust with ourselves. Like, how did I not know? How? Like all those questions, right? Did you feel a broken trust with yourself, or was your trust reinforced?
Oh, both.
Yeah. Yeah.
I definitely had times where I was like, how can I even trust my instincts? And then I remembered, like, I knew something was wrong. I knew something was wrong. I knew that something was going on. And it was again, like all just a mind game, turning around the script and going, you know what? I do have the ability to love. And maybe he didn't have the ability to love me back, but that's not because I didn't give my all.
Yep.
And just keep validating the things that you did do right and focusing on the good and the things that you want to repeat in life. And the thing that I wanted to repeat was loving and trusting and letting go of the problems that he was facing and not carrying them for him. Just keep handing him back. Like, picture him in a backpack, all this crap that he just heaped on your shoulders, he or she just heaped on your shoulders and said, okay, you're not enough, I don't love you, or whatever they're telling you. They're trying to get you to carry it for them because they're trying to hide whatever insecurity or struggle they were having by heaping it onto you like it was your fault. So you weren't crazy. They literally were trying to do that most of the time in these stories that this happens. And so just like closing your eyes and imagine just handing it back. You can hand it back to your creator, whoever you believe in, your higher power. You can hand it back to the person who tried to give it to you. And I literally visualize that even now, if stuff starts to come up and I get like that feeling, or my kids are going to be graduating next year and I start going, that's not fair, he's not going to be here. And like there's always going to be those triggers on that's not fair, because it's not fair. It's not fair. If someone promised you that they were going to be true to you and take care of you and they didn't, that's not fair. But it wasn't your fault and it was their issue. And so just keep handing their issues back to them. Even if they're coming to you still like, oh, the kids don't treat me right because of you, just keep handing it back. Oh no, I'm going to just be right here doing my thing.
Yep.
I'm not taking anything on for anybody else because I got enough to carry for myself.
Yep. Thank you very much. Yes, it's true. I remember something that I really struggled with was I had felt like I followed like the rules. Like I played by the rules. I was a really, good girl and good woman that tried hard, right? That tried hard to be good, to be loving, to be the kind of woman that I wanted to be and that I thought that God expected me to be. And I sometimes felt a little bit tricked, like I got duped. Like I thought that if I did these things, then it would look this way. And it does not look anything like that. Right?
Yeah.
Did you ever feel that way?
Absolutely. And, something that's kind of helped me with that is learning about, because a lot of times the people having an affair have narcissistic tendencies, and learning about that and going like, it didn't matter. He actually liked that I was just the kind girl who was so giving and I'll do anything for you and I want to be here for you. They love that. And learning about ways you can protect yourself was really helpful for me too. Like having boundaries, watching for the signs when they're not treating the woman at the restaurant right because she didn't have steak and they wanted steak. All those little things that you can watch for and go, you know what? I want someone who's kind to everybody, who treats everybody, who's kind to their mother, who talks kindly about, and just really watching. That was helpful for me to understand that some people really do prey on kindness. They really do prey. So like that was one of your gifts that they tried to use against you.
Yep. Like an easy target, right?
Easy target.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So tell us what your life is like now.
Oh my gosh. My life is awesome. And I have 3 in high school and daughter in junior high and a son in elementary and 2 babies at home. And so my life is a different kind of chaos, but it's a super amazing chaos. We are so busy and there's not many nights where it's just like we got nothing going on. But I find so much joy in every little stage. And I'm really loving watching teenagers with babies because they just are on the floor and it brings them back to earth. Like they're outside playing on the swings and it's keeping them young a little bit.
Yep.
Right now I'm working on a series of online courses. I just finished a widow course that launches next week.
Awesome.
And I'm just working on things from home so I don't miss anything here, which has been really cool. I do travel a little bit and speak about once a month or so. I'll take a speaking engagement and I'm working on a few books and I'm working on a children's series. So I'm busy in a whole bunch of different ways that are all just awesome. And my husband is literally a saint who I have never adored anything more. And it's my third husband. So I need you guys to look at that and go, there is hope after, like there's no set story on what joy is going to be in our lives. I never would have thought I would have more than one husband. I never would have thought that, like, I just wanted a simple, I was even going to be happy just like living on a farm, having the same husband, the same life every day, the same, but there was a different plan for me, but it's beautiful. It's been a series of hard, and we still go through hard, and sometimes things come up. My daughter had an eating disorder last year and had to leave for 3 months and go to a facility. There's hard things always, but there's also amazing things that are happening every single day.
So amazing, so powerful. So I want to ask you about your children. So your children have been through a lot, your teenagers.
Yeah.
How are they doing? Let me preface this with telling you that a lot of my people listening have so much fear and worry about their kids. And I'm sure you did too. And I know I did, really worried about them and how they would fare and what their life would be like, having dealt with some serious trauma pretty young. So, and so tell me what they're like now. How has the trials that they've been through affected them and served them to make them who they are today?
One thing I notice about most kids who go through trauma young, they're kind of grown-ups in these little bodies, which it's hard sometimes not to get wrapped up in, like, that's not fair. Yeah. They don't just get to be kids. They don't just get to go to the park and play and not worry and have anxiety. And they don't get all the freedoms that you thought that you'd be able to give your children. And another part that it's just like, it's not fair. Like, this shouldn't have been their story. When I created these children, I never wanted to, like, I brought them here to give them the best life possible. And so that's really what my focus has been. I could tell you a million things I've done wrong, but I like to focus on the things that you can do right. And a few things that I've done right is focus on the positive of their dad, which has been really hard. And sometimes I had to fake it. But when they'd come and say, hey, this kid at school said this and this and this truth about his story, I would say, absolutely, that is true. I can talk to you about that anytime you'd like. I will give you any information you want. And also, let me tell you a story about, like, right after he died, somebody said that a few weeks before he died, he was at the gym and he handed him some money for his son's birthday and some good things. And because I always wanted them to never, that sounds bad, to look back and go, if my dad was a piece of crap, then what does that make me? Because 50% of me is him. And that's one thing my mom gave me. When my parents divorced, she always would, like, bring back the positive. And sometimes I was so annoyed. Like, I just want to be mad at him. Let me be mad at him. And I do let them be mad and frustrated and sad and hurt and scared and all the things, because I want them to be aware of their emotions, but I also want them to know the good that he was, because I want them to know that they're good.
I love
that. I think that's been really powerful. My kids talk about that all the time. And at the time, I really didn't realize how powerful that was going to be. It was just like something that I know my mom gave me. That anyway, what are some other things that we did right? I remember times where it was like, well, that's not fair. They don't have their dad. That's not fair. Even after my divorce, like, this other man should have been and wasn't their dad. And so I kind of got to the point where I realized that I could give them everything they deserved. I could be everything that they need. I could be a listening ear. I could be supportive. I could give them boundaries, because kids feel safe with boundaries. I can give them consequences when things go wrong, so they felt safe with those boundaries. I can be that. And it was kind of like a few years ago, we had a bus driver that was awful and driving crazy and getting in fights. And I tried to get rid of him and tried to work with the bus system. Nobody seemed to care. And so one day I was like, I know how to drive. I'm really good at driving. I'm just going to drive them. And yes, I'm going to spend 4 trips every day to different schools, but I know that they're safe. We have the power to be everything our kids need, or else we wouldn't be in this situation, right?
Yep.
I think God's saying, hey, you got this, because you are what they need. If you want them to have something, then be it.
Yep.
So it's kind of, I don't know. I think it's kind of he's trying to tell us how powerful we are and how important we are and what a role we could be when the other person that should be, in quotes, doing certain things for them are not, we still can.
Mm-hmm. What I'm hearing from you is when things arise, like the bus example, I think that's a great example. And you did what you could to try to go get the bus driver changed. And then when that didn't work, you're like, I'll do it myself. Right.
Yep.
And I bet you can make a whole list of all the things that you've done that with, I guess I'm just doing it myself. And I love that because it's a reminder that sometimes we feel victimized. Sometimes we feel stuck. Like I'm just in this crappy situation and there's nothing I could do about it. Or my kid is in this situation. There's nothing I can do. And I think that there's always things that we can do to elevate us out of the situation. There are circumstances, obviously, that we cannot change, right? But I think that a lot of the day-to-day things that come up that we feel so trapped in, not day-to-day, the big things too, right? Like we can still use our own power and our own strength to change what we can, right?
Right.
So I love that.
This is thought that kind of goes along with that. When or if you do remarry, putting that expectation that new spouse is going to come and be what the other spouse should have been, those kind of things can get really foggy and really like the expectation might make them never feel like they're good enough because they're never going to be that other person or what the other person used to be. And again, knowing that anything a step parent brings to your children that's positive is a bonus. So you're still capable of giving them all they need. So if someone else isn't doing it, you can still do it. Oh,
that's so good. My listeners can't see me right now, but I'm sitting here kind of grinning because I can look at the first years of my marriage. I got remarried almost 6 years ago and can see how I put some pressure on him. Like I wanted him to be the dad that my kids didn't have and all of this. And over time, what has helped tremendously is dropping that. And you know what else? Dropping the expectation for me that I had to be this like spectacular everything to these kids. Their mom died of cancer and had to be everything. Right. And when I could just chalk it up to how amazing that we all get to be here and love each other. And things got a whole lot easier at that point.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So thank you for that. Thank you. Tell me, Ashlee, what you are most proud of.
The thing I'm most proud of is that despite all odds and evidence against it, I fought to find my worth. And I believe it. Like I don't have to have it from anybody else. And when I get hate online, I can just laugh and be like, oh man, that poor person must be going through something so hard if they're taking this much energy and time to try to put me down. And just taking away the energy of expecting everybody to support my confidence and just knowing that I'm where I'm supposed to be. And I'm who I'm supposed to be. And I don't have to apologize. I don't have to shrink and I don't have to puff up because I don't need to explain anything to anyone. I'm just here being me and trying to make a difference and bring some light to the world.
I love that so much. And I think that my own personal opinion about that is I think that's like one of the most important lessons that we are here to learn is how to love ourselves as we are. And sometimes it takes some hard things for us to reach inside and dig to the depths to where we decide that we are enough. And it really, I think you'd agree with me, it's a decision to say, what if I'm wrong about me? What if all those things that I tell myself are just plain wrong? And what if I am enough? And then nurturing that, it is a decision. And it sounds like you took that decision and have run with it and nurtured it to where you said you just don't even question it. That's amazing. I love that.
And that's not to say that there isn't moments where I feel like, the darkness of the world just tries to creep in.
Yep.
I don't think there's ever going to be a place, even when we're like 90, that it just gives up on trying to make us feel dark and heavy and lonely and stupid. So that's not to say that those things don't try to come, but I never stopped fighting.
Yeah.
And that's what we got to do. We just have to keep saying no to those fears and those beliefs and saying yes to what our truth is and who we are at our core.
Yep. And it sounds like you have practiced this so much that if there might be a time where you start feeling discouraged or whatever, that you know how to speak to yourself to get yourself back to a place of belief and really centered back into your value and your worth. Does that sound accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. So we're going to wrap this up here, but I want to ask you if you have anything that you'd like to say to my listeners.
Oh, I want to say a million things.
Say it all.
Okay.
Say whatever you want.
I like to just picture myself on that couch, finding out, first of all, it wasn't about you. Second of all, this isn't the end. This is just one chapter closing. And a new one starts tomorrow, if you're ready. A new one starts tomorrow, and you get to decide what it looks like. You can look at this as a clean slate, a new beginning of becoming the person that you were always meant to become, and just kind of a mountain that you had to go over to get there. This wasn't an end, and it never is going to be the end. And trying to become the person you were before this traumatic thing that happened to you is a downhill just slope. So start looking up, start thinking up about yourself, about your life, and about your story, and start writing what's next and asking how you're going to get there. It feels like a cliff right now, but pretty soon you're going to figure out that you're going to be able to climb down or build a bridge, but there's a way to get to the other side. And that is going to take light, and it's going to take strength, but you're going to get there.
Thank you. So powerful. Thank you so much. Well, I know that my listeners will be very appreciative of this. I imagine it will be an episode that they go back and listen to again and again to hear your conviction and your story and all of your wisdom that you've shared in this episode. So thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Can you tell my listeners where they can find you to learn more about you?
Yes. themomentswestand.com. It's just getting redone because I'm doing these courses. It used to be just my blog, which on the website, you can still link to the original blog. And it's pretty much like my journal for months and years. And then areasontostand.org is a nonprofit that we were doing events for a long time until COVID. And someday we'll start again when I'm in a little less crazy time of my life. And then on Facebook and Instagram, just The Moments We Stand. And I will be doing an infidelity course eventually. It's one of the next ones on my list. And it's different than working with a counselor or something. It's just going to be more choosing options beyond stuck.
Yep.
And so I would love to have any of you join me there in the next few months when it releases.
Wonderful. I'm sure they'll come find you and watch for that. Keep an eye out.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I know that you will help so many people, and I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast. If you would like to be kept in the know about upcoming free classes, new podcast episodes, and other ways of working with me, go subscribe to my weekly email. You can subscribe at AndreaGiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. Again, it's AndreaGiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. I will see you next time.